Hello, my name is AnnWright. I'm the person on the left. I'm a retired U.S. Army colonel and a former U.S. diplomat. I resigned in 2003 in opposition to the war in Iraq, and since then I've been working with peace groups throughout the world. I'm sorry not to be there in Ramstein with you all and Kaiserslautern. I appreciate very much the invitation to be there. However, because of Hurricane Harvey that hit Houston 10 days ago, I'm still here with my family helping clean up from that terrible hurricane. And please keep us in your mind as another terrible hurricane shows up, Hurricane Irma, that's supposed to be hitting the United States after having gone through so many islands in the Caribbean. So lots of man-made disasters. These hurricanes, I'm sure, have lots to do with global warming that we have something to do with. I'm glad to be with you all here at the military basis conference in Ramstein. It's really important that you all are meeting, and I'm sorry not to be there with you because it's an opportunity for us to talk about the impact of military bases and these bases and conferences that you are having right now follow in a long line of conferences about the impact of military bases in other people's countries. In 2007 in Manta, Ecuador, the first conference on the abolition of foreign military bases that occurred, and that stemmed from the World Social Forum discussions that had been going on for several years. And then another abolition of foreign military bases conference happened in Guantanamo, Cuba in 2015, and another one just this May in 2017. I hope some of the people that are attending your conference in Germany had gone to that. There was also another conference in 2017 of the International Women's Network Against Militarization, and that was held in Okinawa. And women from countries that have been impacted by U.S. military bases, to include the Philippines, South Korea. I don't know that anyone was there from Germany. Okinawa for sure, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, places in the United States that by all rights should be independent countries, but are territories or states of the United States. And now we have in Kaiserslautern today the conference on military bases. I wanted to mention to you that we do have a new coalition that's formed on these military bases, and it's a group that kind of formed out of the last Guantanamo conference, and we have people who are part of the U.S. Peace Council, the Black Alliance for Peace, Code Pink Women for Peace, World Beyond War, the International Action Center, the Global Network Against Weapons and Nuclear Power in Space, Veterans for Peace, the United National Anti-War Coalition, the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation, Popular Resistance. The first crack at this, so to speak, has been for U.S. organizations to form a coalition for U.S. groups to keep talking about the impact of U.S. military bases around the world. Just to let you know where you can find more information, the website URL is noforeignbases.org. And while this group that's come together, we do have a lot of opinions on a variety of things, but we are agreed that U.S. military bases are instruments of imperial global domination and do environmental damage through wars of aggression and occupation, and that the closure of these U.S. military bases in other people's countries is one of the first steps toward a just, peaceful, and sustainable world. Some of the points of unity is that while we're opposed to all foreign military bases, we do recognize that the United States has the highest number of military bases outside its own country. And as we note, there are U.S. military bases in every Persian Gulf country, the Middle East except Iran. We do recognize that many national coalitions, for example on Okinawa and in Italy, Jeju Island, South Korea, Diego Garcia, Cyprus, Greece, and you in Germany demand closures of bases on your territory. The U.S. base that the country that has had to withstand the U.S. base the longest is Guantanamo, is Cuba, and Guantanamo Bay, which is 117 years old. With the revolution in 1959, the Cuban government has been demanding the return of that base for the last 60 years. The United States maintains that a treaty which authorized the base to be U.S. possession for perpetuity, and we pay them $4,000 a year for that. They've never cashed that check. And speaking of these military bases, the United States does have 800 U.S. bases in over 70 countries. And you all know that for sure because Germany has the largest number of bases, 179 bases, with 40,000 U.S. military personnel there, and many tens of thousands more of family members of these military and Department of Defense personnel. Japan has the next largest of 109 bases and over 50,000 U.S. military personnel. South Korea with 85 bases and 28,000 personnel. And then, of course, the bases that are in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and many other parts of the world, which we can see through this map, which comes from a very good book called Base Nation that was written by Dr. David Vines about U.S. military bases around the world. And you can see the overlay of all of the U.S. bases and then smaller elements that the United States does not consider an official U.S. military base. They call them lily pads, little jump-off points for small detachments of U.S. military. These lily pads are in over 100 countries. And another version of this is where the United States and the numbers of military troops that may be cycling through these places. Of course, the United States puts military bases around countries that the U.S. considers to be some type of a threat. So here we have Iran, one of the axis of evil, Iran, Iraq, North Korea. And so Iran has been circled by U.S. military bases from Turkey, military bases in Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and then all of the Gulf states. And then continuing on around to Afghanistan and Pakistan, and bases that have at times been in Central Asia. And here we have another view of another country that the United States considers to be a threat, and that is Russia. And Russia has always been encircled with the U.S. military bases from the Cold War. And with the U.S. and NATO threats to Russia, with the increased numbers of military operations, military, they call them military exercises, but they're actually war drills, as you well know. And the response that the Russian government has felt necessary, where they create their own exercises and deployments of military units along the border with the Eastern Bloc countries. So it's a very dangerous situation where these U.S. military bases are certainly provocative and are not, in my opinion, serving the safety and security of our world. So that's why we all are working to get them abolished, because they are provocative and a danger to international security. It's not only the United States, of course, but the United Kingdom does have military bases, not in the same numbers, of course, but they do have military bases in the colonial areas what they had of the British Empire. And France continues to have military bases in countries that were former colonial powers or may still be French territories, such as French Guiana, and the lingering influence in Djibouti. And Russia. Russia, too, has military bases outside its own country. Most of them are in areas where they were former republics of the Soviet Union. And the Russian Federation has requested that these bases be allowed to stay there. So those are some. And then, of course, the good old United States of America. And this is just a very partial listing of the countries where the United States has had military bases over the many, many years. And we continue to use these bases for excursions into all parts of the world. I want to just go quickly back up to another slide, and we'll just can go through here. I hope it doesn't make you sick as we're doing this. But I think it is important that we talk about the opportunities that we do have in these international conferences. It is important that we get together as concerned citizens around the world to discuss the impact of military bases in our own country, the huge amounts of money that each country is required to provide when the United States continues its occupation of territory not outside the United States, and then the U.S. is requiring the host nation to contribute huge amounts of money for the maintenance of U.S. military. We know that this is a cost-saving measure for the United States. If the U.S. can get other countries to pay for the maintenance of these military bases in their countries, then it reduces the amount the United States citizens have to pay through their tax money. But it means that you in Germany are paying for the United States. So all good reasons why we need to stop these military bases. And I, for one, am thrilled to be a part of this conference, and hope that you, during this wonderful conference, have a chance to talk with lots of people about what is happening, and that you will join us as we prepare for a conference in the United States, date yet to be determined, but we do hope that you will join us as we continue to put pressure on the United States government to close these military bases. Military bases, particularly in Okinawa, where the United States has a huge military presence. Nearly one half of the area of Okinawa has been taken by U.S. military bases, and that is a demand that the people of Okinawa have. And this photograph was taken 2 years ago when a Veterans for Peace delegation went to Okinawa as well as to South Korea in solidarity with the activists that say no more military bases on our lands, go home to the United States, that's where you belong, and that's where we will be working from the United States to stop these bases. Again, congratulations on the excellent conference here in Ramstein. I'm sorry I'm not going to be with you for this one, and for the great demonstration that will be held tomorrow for the stopping assassin drones, another one of the very terrible weapon systems the U.S. is using that kills so many innocent civilians in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, all over the world, Somalia now. So again, I thank you all very much. I'm sorry not to be with you, but I wish you great success. Thank you.